So you just bought an NFL team. Sunday comes, 70,000 fans fill a stadium you own, screaming for a team that's yours. Every ticket, every jersey, every beer sold funnels back to you. Ownership feels effortless. You just collect. Anyone who could do this and doesn't is missing something obvious. That picture is a lie. The money you just imagined collecting isn't yours to spend. Most of it is legally obligated to leave your hands before you ever see it. What actually runs an NFL franchise is something almost no fan has ever heard of. Here's the real conflict. You didn't just buy a football team, you bought a seat. The NFL is a closed club of 32 members, and what your money actually purchased is permanent membership at the table that controls it. That membership comes with a rule book stricter than almost anything else in American business. What you can borrow, who you can sell shares to, how much of your own cash has to sit on the line, none of it is your call. You don't run this asset so much as get granted permission to sit inside it. The team on the field is almost incidental. The real product you bought is the seat, and nobody explains the seat's rules until after you've already signed for it. There isn't one price to get in. There's a ladder, and each rung buys you less than you'd think. The cheapest way is a sliver, through an NFL-approved investment fund. That fund needs at least $2 billion in committed capital before the league lets it near a team. It can put no more than 20% of its own money into any single club. It can't touch more than 6 franchises league-wide, and it must hold that stake for a minimum of 6 years. In exchange, you get 0 vote. Above that sits the individual limited partner tier, where you write a direct check for a real slice. When Vinod Khosla bought 3.1% of the San Francisco 49ers in 2025, that sliver alone was priced off an $8.5 billion valuation of the whole team. Call it roughly $260 million for a seat with no say in anything. Above that is full control, the seat with an actual vote. And here the NFL adds its strangest rule. The league caps how much of the purchase price can be borrowed, forcing most of it to be your own liquid cash, not a bank's. And at the very top, ride this number again, because it's the one that sells the whole fantasy. Paul Allen bought the entire Seattle Seahawks outright in 1997 for around $200 million. His estate just sold that same franchise in 2026 for $9.6 billion. Same team. 48 times the money in under 30 years. A return most hedge funds would kill for, sitting inside a business that, on paper, loses money most seasons. Here's where the payoff actually lives, and it has almost nothing to do with winning. Every one of the NFL's 32 teams gets an identical equal cut of the league's national media contracts, well over $300 million a year, paid out before a single ticket is scanned at the gate, whether your team finishes 15-2 or 2-15. Merchandise and licensing get pooled and split the same way, 32 even slices. You are not being paid for performance. You are being paid for membership, and that check clears for the same amount either way, rain or shine, playoffs or last place. Ride that number again, because it's also your bill flipped upside down. That same guaranteed national payout comes wrapped around a mandatory cost. $301.2 million is the 2026 salary cap, and it is not optional. Add player benefits on top, and your real payroll obligation is $378.8 million a year. Cap or no cap, wins or losses. Fall short of spending 89% of that cap over a rolling 4-year window, and the league forces you to cut the shortfall directly to the players as a check, on top of what you already paid. Stadium operations, coaching staffs, scouting departments, team travel, insurance, none of that is even included in that number. Real teams run tens of millions more on top of it every year just to open the building. And none of it pauses just because you're rebuilding. The mandatory number keeps climbing every year, whether your roster is good or terrible, whether you sell out the stadium or play in front of empty seats. Here's the trapdoor nobody sees coming. Paper net worth means nothing here. In recent NFL sale processes, bidders worth billions on paper, according to Forbes, have reportedly been quietly eliminated for failing to prove they had that much actual cash sitting liquid, ready to wire on demand. No financing, no leverage, no waiting on a stock sale to clear. Being rich isn't the qualifier. Having that much money sitting completely still earning nothing, waiting on one phone call from the league's finance committee. That's the real price of entry, and it silently rules out almost everyone who merely looks rich enough to be in the room. You can be worth $10 billion on paper and still fail this test in a single afternoon. Here's what nobody tells you about why this machine can't be copied. The moat was never talent on the field. Three separate rival leagues have tried to compete with real players, real stadiums, real television deals. The USFL, the AAF, the XFL, twice, and every one of them folded within a season or two of launching, burning through hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. The moat is the closed membership itself. 32 seats, no more being issued, protected by broadcast contracts and a decades-old antitrust exemption that lets all 32 teams negotiate media rights together as a single unit, something almost no other American industry is legally allowed to do without regulators shutting it down. A rival league can copy the uniforms, the stadiums, even the rules of the game. It cannot copy the exemption, and without it, the economics never work. You were never paying for a football team. You were paying for a permanent seat inside a cartel that is legally structured so it cannot be undercut from the outside by anyone, at any price. For 24 years, Jerry Richardson built the Carolina Panthers from a 1993 expansion franchise into one of the league's model organizations. 2 Super Bowl runs, a seat on the sport's most powerful committees, a direct hand in labor negotiations that shaped the entire NFL. He was one of the most respected owners in football, a former player himself, the last of the original expansion-era founders, still running the team he built from nothing, and by every football metric, still winning. Then in December 2017, Sports Illustrated reported that 4 former employees had received financial settlements tied to sexual harassment, and that Richardson had directed a racial slur at a team scout. There was no losing streak, no bankruptcy, no debt crisis. He announced he was putting the team up for sale within days of the story breaking, before the season had even ended, in a short letter that never once addressed the allegations directly. By May 2018, 5 months later, the sale was final. David Tepper bought the Panthers for $2.275 billion, a franchise sale record at the time. The following month, the league's own independent investigation substantiated every allegation against him and fined a man who no longer even owned a football team $2.75 million, a number with nothing left to attach itself to. Richardson didn't lose his seat over a losing record. He lost it over conduct, and that's the actual survival test nobody puts in the brochure. The families who've held teams for generations, the Rooneys in Pittsburgh since 1933, the Maris in New York since 1925, didn't outlast 4 other ownership eras by outspending anyone on that mandatory $301.2 million number every team is already forced to pay. They survived by structuring succession decades in advance and never once giving the other 31 members a reason to force a vote. The cap is identical for every owner in the league. The vote to remove you is not, and history shows it only ever gets used on people, never on payrolls. An NFL team was never a business you run for profit. It's a permanent seat inside a $20 billion a year private club, and the seat itself is the appreciating asset. Value climbing whether you win or lose, income guaranteed whether you win or lose, the same way it climbed for Paul Allen without him coaching a single snap. But that seat can be taken away for almost any reason at all, except the one reason fans actually watch for. You can lose every game for a decade and keep your seat. Lose the trust of 31 other members, and you can be gone in 5 months. That's the part almost nobody watching on Sunday has ever been told. So you just bought an NFL team. Just remember, you don't just collect. 31 other members are watching, and they can vote you out of that stadium faster than you signed the check to buy it.